I stood at gate 47 watching my entire family board flight 382 to Cancun while I held a ticket for a flight leaving 6 hours later. My sister Veronica smiled at me from the boarding line, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "Mark, you understand, right? We just thought you'd be more comfortable traveling alone. You get so awkward around people, and honestly, you kind of embarrass us sometimes." My mother nodded sympathetically, but said nothing. My brother-in-law, Trevor, looked at his phone. My aunts, uncles, and cousins shuffled past me like I was invisible. Nobody defended me. Nobody questioned why I was the only one with a different flight. The words hit harder than I expected. I was 32 years old, a software engineer from Denver, and apparently too embarrassing for my own family vacation. If you're enjoying this story, please subscribe to the channel for more fascinating stories like this. You won't regret it. I watched them disappear down the jetway, feeling smaller with each passing second. Then I heard my name over the intercom. "Mark Henderson, please approach the desk." The airline agent was a woman in her 60s with kind eyes and silver hair pulled back neatly. She looked at me, then at her computer screen, then back at me with an expression I couldn't read. "Mark Henderson?" she asked softly. "The Mark Henderson who volunteered at Denver Children's Hospital 15 years ago." I blinked in surprise. "Yes, that was me. How did you—" "My grandson was there." Her eyes welled up slightly. "You spent hours with him during his cancer treatment. You made him laugh when nothing else could. He's 23 now, healthy and thriving." She typed something quickly. "Your ticket has been upgraded to first class, departing in 20 minutes. Same arrival time as your family." My heart pounded, but I didn't pay for her. She leaned closer and whispered, "Your reservation was altered. Someone changed your flight deliberately. But don't worry, I'm fixing it now." Walking down the jetway felt surreal. I passed through economy, then through the curtain into first class. And there, in seats 3A and 3B, sat Veronica and Trevor. Her face went white when she saw me. Trevor's newspaper crumpled in his hands. I settled into seat 1A, directly in front of them, and accepted champagne from the flight attendant. "Mark." Veronica's voice was tight. "How did you—" "Upgrade," I said, simply not turning around. "Lucky day." I heard her whisper frantically to Trevor. He shushed her, but his voice carried a nervous edge I'd never heard before. The flight attendant closed the cabin door, and I felt my phone buzz. A notification from my bank. A large withdrawal from an account I barely remembered existed. The family emergency fund we'd set up years ago. I'd trusted Veronica to manage it. During the flight, I opened my banking app with shaking hands. The family fund showed a balance of $847. It should have had over $30,000. I'd been contributing $500 monthly for 6 years, and other relatives had added money too for emergencies, group gifts, and family events like this vacation. I scrolled through the transaction history. Small withdrawals. $200 here. $500 there. Always just under the threshold that would trigger alerts. Always labeled with vague descriptions. Family expense, group purchase, emergency medical. But there were dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. I counted back through months, then years. My stomach turned. The math was devastating. Over $25,000 had disappeared from an account I'd barely checked because I trusted my sister. One transfer caught my eye. $3,000 to an account ending in 7842. I knew that number. It was Veronica's personal checking account. I spent the rest of the flight reviewing every statement I could access. The pattern was unmistakable. For nearly 4 years, Veronica had been taking money systematically. Sometimes it was $100. Sometimes $800. The largest single withdrawal was $2,500, labeled Emergency Medical Uncle Ray. I remembered that. Uncle Ray had needed surgery. We'd all chipped in extra that month. I'd sent an additional $1,000 myself. But Uncle Ray had told me at Christmas that the family fund had only covered $400 of his bills. He'd been confused about where the rest went. Now I knew. The plane landed, and I stayed in my seat while first class deplaned. Veronica and Trevor hurried past me without making eye contact. I sat there staring at my phone screen, watching years of trust crumble into a pattern of calculated theft. My friend Wesley worked in forensic accounting. I sent him a text before I even stood up. Wesley responded within an hour. I was sitting in the resort lobby, having checked in separately from my family, when my phone rang. Mark, buddy, I looked at what you sent me. This is bad. How bad? This wasn't impulsive. This was planned. His voice was grim. The amounts, the timing, the descriptions, whoever did this knew exactly how to avoid detection. They understood the account structure and exploited your trust systematically. I closed my eyes. Can we prove it? Legally? Yes. The transactions are all documented. But here's the thing. If she had authorization on the account, technically she didn't break the law. She broke trust, but that's harder to prosecute. She had authorization because I gave it to her. I said, quietly, I thought she was helping manage family contributions. Then she used that authorization to steal from everyone. Wesley paused. Mark, this gets worse. I see her name on multiple large purchases that don't match the descriptions in the ledger. At the resort, family photos flooded social media. My cousins posted pictures at the pool. My aunts shared sunset shots. Every caption mentioned how perfect the vacation was, how everyone was there, how blessed they felt. I wasn't in a single photo. More than that, the captions made it sound like I'd chosen not to come. Wish Mark could have made it, my cousin Bailey wrote. Family time with almost everyone, my mother posted. The lie was spreading in real time. I was being erased from a narrative, written out of the family story, transformed from excluded to absent by choice. By dinner time, 3 relatives had texted me asking why I'd bailed again. Again, as if this was a pattern I'd established. Then my cousin Derek messaged me privately. Mark, I need to talk to you. Something's not right. Meet me at the beach bar at 9. Derek showed me his phone. Screenshot of a group chat I wasn't part of. Veronica had been laying groundwork for weeks. Mark said he might not come. She'd written 3 weeks ago. He's been really unstable lately. I'm worried about him. Mark's having financial problems. Another message claimed he might not be able to afford it. Let's not pressure him. The latest message, sent yesterday. Mark decided not to come. He said he needs space from the family. I think he's going through something. She told us she refused. Derek said quietly, she made it sound like you were pulling away from everyone. I believe her until I saw you at the airport. Then I knew something was wrong. I showed her my phone, the bank statements, the missing money. His face went pale. She's been stealing from all of us, he whispered, and she blamed you for not being here to cover it up. Derek suggested we talk to my mother, who was sitting by the pool reading. I approached carefully. Mom, can we talk privately? We walked to a quiet corner. I started gently. Mom, do you remember when you made me executor of the family trust? She looked confused. What trust? The one you set up 5 years ago. You told me I was named executor in your will. You said Veronica knew and understood. My mother's face changed. Mark, I never told Veronica that. She's been managing my financial papers since your father died. She said it was too stressful for me to handle alone. But I definitely made you executor. You're the responsible one. My chest tightened. And the family emergency fund? Who's supposed to have access? Just you and me, she said. Why? What's happened? I showed her my phone. The withdrawals. The transfers. The missing $25,000. My mother sat down heavily on a beach chair, her hand over her mouth. She's been hiding your authority, she finally whispered, and using mine. The next morning, I called a lawyer friend named Vincent from law school. I explained everything while walking along the beach alone. The manipulated flight, the stolen money, the forged narrative, the hidden executor status. Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Mark, you legally control several family assets. The trust, the emergency fund, certain joint accounts. If you're the executor, you have authority over disbursements, management decisions, and access permissions. I never exercised any of that authority, I said, because you didn't know you had it. But here's what concerns me. If she's been managing these accounts on your mother's behalf, and you're legally the executor, She may have been submitting authorization forms in your name. That's fraud. I stopped walking. What kind of forms? Consent forms, transfer authorizations, beneficiary changes. Anything requiring executor approval. She couldn't have moved that much money without some kind of official permission. If she faked your signature, this becomes criminal. He paused. You've been signing things without knowing it. Vincent worked fast. By afternoon, he requested copies of all documents filed with the trust and the family fund over the past 4 years. What came back was stunning. 18 authorization forms bearing my signature, 12 transfer approvals, 7 beneficiary modification requests. I stared at the documents on my laptop screen. The signatures looked like mine, but slightly off. The loops were wrong. The pressure was inconsistent. These are my signatures, I told Vincent on video call. I believe you, but we need to prove it. He'd already contacted a forensic document examiner. Send me samples of your real signature from the same time periods. We'll compare them professionally. I spent the evening gathering documents, old checks, contracts, holiday cards I'd signed to relatives. Real signatures I knew were mine. The differences were subtle but present. Someone had practiced copying my handwriting, but hadn't quite mastered it. That someone was my sister, and she'd been doing it for years. The forensic examiner worked remotely but thoroughly. 3 days later, Vincent called with results. Mark, it's official. Those signatures aren't yours. The pressure patterns are wrong. The stroke order is inconsistent. Whoever signed these was copying your signature, not writing naturally. Can we use this legally? Absolutely. This is forgery. Combined with financial records, you have a strong case for fraud. But here's what's interesting. I found something else. He paused. There are 3 life insurance policies your mother doesn't remember signing. Policies that name Veronica as sole beneficiary instead of splitting between you and her. My blood went cold. Mom didn't sign those? The signatures on those policies matched the forged ones on your authorization forms. Same hand, same person. Vincent's voice was grim. Mark, this wasn't just about stealing from the family fund. This could collapse everything. I sat on my hotel balcony, watching the ocean, understanding finally dawning. Veronica hadn't just been taking money. She'd been positioning herself to inherit everything. I said nothing to anyone. At family dinners, I was polite. At beach outings, I smiled. When Veronica made passive-aggressive comments about my awkward social skills, I let them slide. I watched her relax, saw her confidence return. She thought she'd won. She thought I was too embarrassed, too passive, too weak to fight back. I let her think that. Behind the scenes, Vincent was building a case. Wesley was documenting every fraudulent transaction. Derek was quietly talking to other relatives, discovering more lies, more manipulations. My mother was reviewing documents she thought Veronica had been helping her with. The picture was devastating. Veronica had spent 4 years systematically stealing from the family, forging documents, and carefully positioning herself as a responsible daughter while painting me as unstable and unreliable. I scheduled a family meeting for the last day of vacation. I want to clear the air. I told everyone. I think there's been some misunderstanding about why I'm here. Veronica smiled smugly. That's very mature, Mark. I smiled back. I thought so too. The resort had a private conference room they used for business meetings. I booked it for 2 hours. 15 family members showed up. My mother, Veronica and Trevor, my aunts and uncles, cousins Derek and Bailey, and 3 others. They came expecting an apology from me, a confession of whatever social awkwardness had caused a conflict. Veronica arrived last, wearing designer sunglasses and a confident smile. She hugged people, laughed about the wonderful vacation, thanked everyone for giving Mark space to work through his issues. I waited until everyone was seated. Then I stood at the head of the table, laptop ready, Wesley on video call, Vincent present via speakerphone. Thank you all for coming. I said calmly, I want to talk about the family emergency fund. Veronica's smile faltered slightly. Mark, this isn't the time. It's exactly the time. I opened my laptop and turned it to face everyone. I want to show you all where your money went. The room went silent. I presented the financial summaries Wesley had prepared. Clean, simple charts showing contributions versus withdrawals, names of family members who donated, dates they contributed, and then, in red, the withdrawals that didn't match any real family emergency. Over 4 years, $28,000 was taken from this account. I said, money that was supposed to help Uncle Ray with medical bills, help Cousin Bailey with her car accident, help fund his vacation. Instead, it disappeared. My uncle spoke up. Mark, we know managing money is hard. Mistakes happen. These weren't mistakes. I pulled up the next screen. These were deliberate transfers to personal accounts, specifically to account number ending in 7842. Veronica laughed nervously. Mark, you're making some serious accusations. Maybe you should. I turned the screen to show the account holder's name. Veronica Henderson Davis. Her account. Her name. Wesley's voice came to the laptop speaker, calm and professional. I'm Wesley Torres, forensic accountant. I've reviewed these transactions. They show a pattern of systematic embezzlement. The room erupted in whispers. Veronica stood up, face flushed. This is ridiculous. I have authorization. You have authorization to manage contributions, not withdraw funds. I said, and you definitely don't have authorization for this. I showed them the forged signatures. My real signature on a document from my job, then the fake signature on a fund authorization form. Side by side, even to untrained eyes, the differences were visible. These aren't your signatures? My mother whispered. No, Mom, they're not. Wesley walked everyone through the forensic analysis. Stroke patterns, pressure points, letter formation. The technical language meant little to most of them, but the conclusion was clear. Someone had forged my signatures to authorize transactions I never approved. Who would do that? My Aunt Caroline asked. The answer was obvious, but no one wanted to say it. Until Trevor, Veronica's own husband, stood up. His face was pale. His hands shook. I didn't know, he said quietly. I swear to God, I didn't know the extent of it. Veronica grabbed his arm. Trevor, sit down. No. He pulled away from her. I can't do this anymore. I found emails. I found documents. I've been lying awake for months. He looked at me. I have proof. I'll give you everything. The room went completely silent. Trevor pulled out his phone with trembling hands. I found these 3 months ago. I confronted her, and she said it was just temporary, that she'd pay everything back, that you all would understand. He looked at me. She said you knew about the loans and had approved them. He forwarded emails to my laptop. I opened them in real time, projecting them on the wall screen I'd set up. The first was from 3 years ago. Mark is so naive. He never checks the account. I can take what we need for now and replace it later. Another from 2 years ago. Mom trusts me completely. I told her Mark was too busy to manage the fund anymore. She signed over secondary access without questioning it. Another from 8 months ago. If anyone asks, we'll say Mark was the one who mismanaged everything. Everyone already thinks he's awkward and irresponsible. They'll believe it. And the most damning from 6 weeks ago, the vacation is the perfect opportunity. Get Mark on a separate flight. Keep him isolated. By the time anyone notices the missing money, I'll have positioned him as a problem. The emails kept coming. Messages to Trevor discussing how to cut Mark off completely. Plans to gradually turn family members against me. Strategies for making me seem unreliable and unstable. There were even drafts of social media posts designed to make me look bad. One email showed she'd been planning this airport humiliation for months. I'll book Mark on a later flight and make a public scene about him needing space. Everyone will see him as the problem, not me. By the time he arrives, the narrative will be set. My mother was crying silently. Aunt Caroline looked sick. Uncle Ray, who thought the family fund had barely helped him, stared at the screen in disbelief. There's more, Trevor said miserably. She has a separate bank account I didn't know about. I found statements last week. There's over $40,000 in it from various family accounts. 40,000? My mother's voice cracked. Veronica, how could you? Veronica had been frozen, but now she snapped to life. You're all acting like I'm some criminal. Mark has plenty of money. You all have money. I needed help, and nobody offered. You stole from Uncle Ray's medical fund. Derek interrupted, his voice shaking with anger. He couldn't afford his medications because you took the money we pooled for him. Other family members started speaking up. Uncle Ray confirmed he'd received far less than expected. Aunt Caroline remembered a mysterious withdrawal before her daughter's wedding that had caused problems. Cousin Bailey mentioned contributing $1,000 for her grandmother's funeral expenses, but the funeral home said they'd only received $200 from the family fund. Each revelation painted a clearer picture. Veronica had been systematically stealing from multiple family members over multiple years, carefully covering her tracks by keeping individual amounts small enough to avoid suspicion. And you made us think Mark was a problem, Bailey said, her voice hard. You told me he was having a breakdown. You said he was withdrawing from the family because he was jealous of your success. You made me feel guilty for not reaching out to more. I believed you, Derek added quietly. When you said Mark bailed on this vacation, I believe you because you've been so convincing for so long. But none of it was true. Veronica tried a different approach, tears forming. I'm sick. I need help. This is a cry for help. You're not sick, I said flatly. You're a thief, and you try to destroy my reputation, to cover it up. I pulled out the final document, the one Vincent had found that changed everything. This is the family trust document Mom created 5 years ago. She named me executor. That means I have legal authority over all family accounts, disbursements, and financial decisions. I turned to Veronica. You knew about this. Mom told you, but you hid it from everyone, including me. You've been acting with power of attorney privileges you never actually had. Vincent's voice came through the speaker, clear and authoritative. I'm Vincent Reyes, attorney at law. I've reviewed the trust documents and all related accounts. Veronica Henderson Davis has systematically exceeded her authority, forged legal documents, and misappropriated family funds. Mark, as executor, had the power to audit and control these accounts at any time. She deliberately concealed this information to continue her fraud. I showed them the power of attorney documents Veronica had filed, documents claiming I'd transfer authority to her. More forged signatures. More lies. You've been operating outside legal boundaries for years, Vincent continued, and you created significant civil liability for yourself. Veronica's lawyer voice kicked in through the phone. The room was completely silent as he spoke. Based on the evidence presented, Vincent said, his tone professional but unmistakable in its severity, Veronica faces potential civil liability for breach of fiduciary duty, fraud, forgery, and embezzlement. The monetary damages exceed $40,000 based on current documentation, and there may be additional hidden accounts we haven't discovered yet. He paused, letting that sink in. She could be required to make full restitution to every family member affected, plus damages, plus legal fees. We're looking at potentially $75,000 to $100,000 in total liability. Trevor sat down heavily, his head in his hands. Veronica was sheet white. Additionally, Vincent continued, the forged signatures constitute criminal fraud. While the family can choose not to press criminal charges, the civil case is straightforward. Every transaction, every forged document, every false authorization is documented and provable. I watched Veronica's confident facade completely crumble. This was an embarrassment. This was the full weight of consequences she'd never imagined facing. She thought she was clever. She thought she was safe. She thought no one would ever dig deep enough to find the truth. She'd been wrong. The word spread fast. Within 2 days, every member of our extended family knew what had happened. Phone calls, text chains, social media messages. The story traveled through our family network like wildfire. The same network where Veronica had carefully built her reputation was now destroying it. Cousins I hadn't heard from in years reached out to express shock. Aunts who believed Veronica's lies about me called to apologize. Family friends who'd seen her social media posts about the perfect vacation now understood why I hadn't been in any photos. The comments on her Facebook post changed. Where's Mark in these pictures? Someone asked. Why did you lie about him bailing? Another person commented, "We heard what you did to your brother. Disgusting." Veronica deleted her social media accounts within 36 hours. But screenshots live forever, and family members had saved everything. Her carefully constructed image as a responsible, caring sister had shattered completely. My phone rang on day 3. Veronica's number. I almost didn't answer, but I wanted to hear what she'd say when her back was completely against the wall. "Mark." Her voice was small, defeated. Nothing like the confident woman who'd call me embarrassing at the airport. "Please, we need to talk." "I'm listening." "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I made terrible mistakes. But please, don't let this destroy me." My job found out. Someone sent them information about the fraud charges. I might get fired. Trevor's parents won't speak to us. My friends are asking questions. She was crying now. "Please, Mark, make this go away. Tell everyone it was a misunderstanding. I'll pay everything back. I promise." I stood on my hotel balcony, looking at the ocean. "You call me embarrassing in front of our entire family. You deliberately booked me on a different flight, so I wouldn't be around. You stole from Uncle Ray's medical fund. You forged my signature dozens of times. You tried to destroy my reputation to cover your crimes. I know, but... And now you want me to protect you from the consequences?" Silence. Then desperately, "We're family. Family protects family. You didn't protect me. You used me." I didn't make Veronica's problems go away. Instead, I worked with Vincent to restructure all family accounts properly. I took my role as executor seriously for the first time, implementing oversight, transparency, and proper authorization procedures. Uncle Ray received the medical fund money he'd been owed. Bailey got reimbursed for her grandmother's funeral expenses. Aunt Caroline recovered the wedding funds that had vanished. Every family member who'd been stolen from was made whole through Veronica's forced restitution payments. My mother worked with a financial advisor to organize her affairs properly, understanding finally what documents she'd actually signed versus what had been forged. She transferred some assets into a revocable trust with clear terms and proper oversight. The family's trust in shared finances was damaged, but we rebuilt it slowly with proper systems in place. I set up quarterly reports, transparent accounting, and required 2-signature authorization for withdrawals over $500. People thanked me, not just for exposing the fraud, but for fixing the broken systems that had enabled it, for taking responsibility seriously, for proving that trust could be earned through action, not just assumed through blood relation. 3 months after vacation, I received a card from Uncle Ray. "Thank you for being the person we needed you to be." 6 months later, I traveled to Barcelona, alone by choice. I upgraded myself to business class using points I'd saved. I walked through the airport with my head high, no longer the embarrassing brother who needed to be hidden away. Veronica and Trevor were separated. She was working 2 jobs to pay off restitution debt. Her reputation in the family would take years to rebuild, if it ever did. Some relationships were permanently broken. Some trust could never be restored. I didn't take pleasure in her struggle, but I didn't regret my choices either. She'd built her life on lies and theft. When that foundation crumbled, the consequences were hers to own. My relationship with my family was different now, more honest, more boundaried, more real. They saw me clearly for the first time, not as awkward or embarrassing, but as someone who protected them even when it was hard, someone who'd chosen truth over comfort. I sat in a cafe in Barcelona, watching people walk by, and thought about dignity, patience, and self-worth, about the difference between being excluded and choosing yourself, about the quiet power of simply refusing to be erased. I didn't win by destroying her. I won by finally choosing myself.